The Bliss of Somatic Sensory Awareness, Expansion, and Waking Up Consciously by Rumi Lindstrom, founder of Inside Awareness Center for Integrative Somatic Learning and the author of the Somatic Archetypes. Living Death Experiences. A reminder, we are born in a field of connected oneness. It is eliminated through adult educators who have lost connection to this state of being. Living death experiences versus near-death experience. Watching a program on near-death experiences was the motivation to voice my own living death experiences, one that resulted in similar somatic sensory awareness I heard expressed in this program. In my living death experiences, there wasn't an engagement with a prophet that I heard participants express they had in their near-death and return to living consciousness events. I didn't experience a physical or mental departure in my living death experiences. Instead, it was the living death of the belief system of ego, relationships, past, career, and community, and the future was unknown. As a somatic empath, coach, and mentor, I use a pattern of 9 life areas to increase conscious awareness in spontaneous behavior, reactions, and responses. The blissfulness of somatic awareness. Those interviewed in the program described their transition as a somatic connection with their environment. They spoke of what they felt, heard, saw, and smelt. They described a transition from dominant thinking experiences into a field of connected oneness. They used a language that lacked isolationist statements. They described blissful felt sensations. Each interviewee shared how the transition felt like going home, and their preference would have been to stay. They chose to return when considering the needs of those they would be leaving behind. When they returned, they had messages from a prophet. They often returned with a gift of intuition and some psychic ability of knowing. 2 streams of consciousness. I didn't transition into another dimension in this living death experience, but the somatic experience could be described as feeling the 5 senses and the field of oneness consciousness in the same way. The prophet and the helper connections or deceased pets were absent from the living death experience. There were no choices for staying in another dimension or returning to this living one. I was experiencing 2 streams of consciousness in real life, living through the somatic experience of the 5 senses while being in an analytical dominant society. The state I believe that was described by the near-death experience and the life-death living experiences is described by Rumi, who introduced the concept of conscious beyond right and wrong thinking. In his poem called The Wagon, it highlights the realization of the spiritual realm and the exploration of non-judgment and oneness. It is an excellent example. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make any sense. The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. You must ask for what you really want. Don't go back to sleep. People are going back and forth across the doorsill where the 2 worlds touch. The door is round and open. Don't go back to sleep. True self transcends the physical body and personality. Reflecting on this program and identifying similarities to a life-death living experience, I imagine it is the true self transcending the physical body and personality. In this experience, there was no mentoring. This statement would not have been conceptual. It also wasn't the first experience of this, as it was an early childhood pattern of learning that was dimmed by the continuous painful relationship events through family and community interactions, causing emotional reactions that were not processed. Through those years, this experience of true self transcending the physical body and personality would emerge in extreme trauma and joyful events. It happened in times of transition from one life choice to another. Losing connection to being spiritual on a human journey. The first personal event mentioned was a spontaneous one where the state of grace lasted for 2 years. The journey for understanding and finding clarity included meditation in the Buddhist tradition, Buddhist feng shui, nonviolent communication with the founder and author Dr. Marshall Rosenberg, and the Feldenkrais method of somatic education. After 30 plus years of focused contemplation on it, I now believe the comparable experiences I had to the near-death ones I was listening to was a dominant somatic response in the same true state a baby is when born. As a Feldenkrais practitioner, I focus upon social conditioning and child development. This includes the early patterns of organic learning. Some children remain dominant in the somatic senses, and others do not. The field of consciousness that is out beyond right and wrong doing when born is easily lost due to the lack of conscious awareness in the social groups that educate children out of that state. Small numbers of people actively pursue patterns or strategies to create that state of being to regain it in life, yet very few perceive it in something within themselves. State of organic being or spirituality. A state of oneness and non-judgment is our birthright. It is the state of being at birth and in the early learning patterns of development. The family and community is the environmental stimulus going in as an outside influence. However, they do not organize or contribute to the inherent early learning patterns. It is an inside blueprint and state of being. Could it be spiritual? Could be. However, that is a word trying to label an experience that is a state of being. One that I have learned can be spontaneous and be the experience without any lessons or labels. It is a somatic experience and a state of being first and foremost. It is available while living and not an experience only for those transitioning through physical death. The starting point is the kind of love that has empathy, self-empathy, and empathy for others equally. This is not the label we attach to love. It is the real deal, compassion. This author sought out practical and integratable learning systems to unlearn social conditioned behaviors for clarity to the connection of organic behavior that answers the questions in the two states of being between oneness and disconnected states of being, the differences in the state of joy and bliss and those of pain and hardship. The Inside Awareness Center for Integrative Somatic Learning. This life journey to understand this experience, presenting itself as a different stream of consciousness from family, friends, peers, partners, and in the teen years of children, is now the stable link at the core of the learning programs for cultivating spontaneous and flexible awareness. I am reminded of a quote from Moshe Feldenkrais, "Flexible body, flexible mind." The practical living programs that are integratable into daily living are based on methods that can be introduced through both streams of consciousness, one through the spontaneity of the somatic senses, or through the close patterns of right and wrong thinking. Each stream of consciousness is a system of entrainment that leads to different living experiences. Each person has a choice and free will. It has been this author's experience that choice and free will be educated out of the human experience through the development of limited thinking that results from strong isolationist belief systems. Your potential next steps. The focus of attention for this body of work can be for personal or career-focused lifestyle learning. The first career stage is childhood and adolescence educational development. The second stage is the early and middle stages of adulthood when attention is on goals, relationships, employment, family, finances, recognition, community, knowledge, and higher education. The third stage is the stage where one gains wisdom from the influences of the first and second career stages and future choices of how to spend time and the energies that are extended towards health, family, friends, and future legacies. The wisdom stage is the one that could include honoring the past. The somatic focus for cultivating awareness at Inside Awareness, practical theme lifestyle options, is on behavior, responses, and learning to transition from limitations acting as brakes to fuller expression, movement, and happiness. This suggests that these learning patterns cover the span of lifetime experiences from birth to death. The patterns can be applied to any lifestyle situation, such as home, family, relationships, career, retirement, grief, and dying. Stay in touch. Please like and subscribe if you like this content. Or contact. The contact information will be in the description box below. Or follow on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, X, or Pinterest, or Tumblr. Or follow me on this podcast at Renee Lindstrom Official. Thank you, and if you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe. I'll catch you on the next one.